This is The Locker Room, where the coaches of Husson University talk sports.
Hello everyone, I'm your host Alyssa Thurlow, and this is The Locker Room, the show that introduces you to the coaches and athletes of Husson University. On today's show, we are pleased to be joined by Dale Duff. He has spent numerous years in the Bangor media, including in television, and is now broadcasting at 92.9 The Ticket right here in Bangor. He's also familiar to this building as an adjunct instructor teaching Intro to Sports Journalism. Welcome.
Thank you, Alyssa. Thanks for having me here.
Awesome. So, first question, you've been working in radio for over 35 years. So what has made you want to stay in this business?
Well, I think the biggest thing is no 2 days are alike. No two games are alike. No two interviews that you do are alike. And so every day it's a challenge, to find the right feature story or broadcast the right game and see how it all plays out. I think that's the best thing about sports and the coverage of sports. Every day is different.
Is that kind of what inspired you to go in the business in the first place?
Yeah, I would say that I, as a youngster, played sports. I was never great at all of the sports, but I knew I wanted to be around sports. And I started out on the news side in this business, always hoping someday I could get to the sports side. I did, and have been there ever since.
So obviously, over the years, there's been a lot of changes, not only in technology, but just in the broadcast business itself. So what kind of changes have you seen, and have you had to adapt to any of those changes?
Oh yeah, there have been plenty of changes. I can go back to the old days of 16mm film covering stories. Today, it's just so much more instantaneous and so much more now, whether it's social media or just the technology itself. So now you're challenged by getting the story, getting it done, obviously as fast as you can, and obviously getting it done as accurate as you can. So just the speed of that news getting out there has been, I think, the biggest difference. Plus, the technology changes, which have improved. And I think they kind of go hand in hand.
So you've also won multiple awards in your career, including Play-by-Play Awards and Maine Sportscaster of the Year. So what does it mean to you to know that you've been successful here in the Bangor media and beyond?
Well, I mean, the awards are nice. Some of them come from your peers in the sports media business, so that's always nice. I have said this for the longest time. A lot of people do sports in the state of Maine and they move on to bigger markets, and there is nothing wrong with that. I think that's great. At some point in time, I think I decided, this was a nice place, and that there's no reason why Maine can't have quality sports coverage by people who want to stay here. And that's kind of why I decided to do that. And, if the awards come, that's great too.
So out of all of the awards that you've won, is there one that's kind of more special to you than others?
I would say some of the play-by-play awards have been the best. That's what I enjoy doing probably the most, because it forces you to react to whatever happens live. So I enjoy that. We've had other awards won over the years where it's been team sports coverage of like high school basketball tournament week. And we win it as a team of people who do the play-by-play, the people who do the producing back at Sports Control. And I really like the team awards too.
So what advice would you give to someone who maybe wants to go into television or radio?
Yeah, I would say be ready for no 2 days are alike. Be ready to work long hours. Be ready to work odd hours. I often say that in sports, my schedule is really based around everybody else's schedule. I have to be at games whenever those games are played. I have to talk to players or coaches whenever they practice. So I have to be very flexible that way. And then the other thing I always say too is I think you have to have thick skin if you want to do this business. somebody's not going to like your play-by-play, or somebody's not going to like the sports report you do. Doesn't mean you did a bad job. It just means you have to have thick skin and continue on.
Yeah. And so each season, there's always so many games every night of the week, especially with basketball. There's so many games that need to be covered. So how do you guys decide which games you're going to broadcast?
Well, that's a good question, because it's kind of one of those things. You have to look at a schedule. You try to bring the best game. Nobody wants to broadcast a 40-point blowout game. So you try to match up teams that you think are going to provide the best game. Every once in a while, that doesn't work. Even the best of plans will bring you a blowout game. The one thing is you want is a competitive, entertaining game, because that makes for the best broadcast. So we plan out our schedules, like in this case, the wintertime schedule, and there's a lot of TBDs, to be determines, and we'll see how the teams make out as they go along, and then kind of adjust the schedule that way. But scheduling is a major part of what I do when I'm not on the air.
Absolutely. All right, when we come back, we'll discuss what a typical day looks like in the world of radio. Stay tuned.
Cinderella found the pet that fits her perfectly. Tiana gave her pet the royal treatment. Belle found beauty where no one else did. And you can too. Share your heart. Share your love. Bring home your forever friend. Make a shelter pet part of your world. Happily Ever After begins at theshelterpetproject.org.
Everywhere that we go, he makes people laugh and makes people smile, and I feel like I have that quality.
He's the one who always takes me fishing.
I watch golf with him. And
I watch him cook, because when I grow up, I want to be a cook too.
We have the same faces like this.
Dad is the one, when you fall, that picks you up.
That unconditional sense of presence and reassurance is really what makes him my father.
Welcome back to the Locker Room. I'm your host, Alyssa Thurlow, and today we are pleased to be joined by Dale Duff. So you kind of touched upon it before the break, but once you decide, what games you'll cover, does that vary from town to town? Like one week you may decide to cover Hamden versus Lawrence, so then maybe next week do you cover Bangor versus Brewer, that type of thing?
Yeah, you have to, you kind of have to look at what is the reach of the station that you're with. Our reach as an all-sports 50,000-watt station has a certain geographical area. We try to service many of the schools in that area. If I'm working for Channel 2 or Channel 5 or Channel 7 on the TV side, their reach is a little bit larger. They may be doing a feature story down in Calais. We might do something with that, but it might be on the phone and that sort of thing. So it does depend on what station you're with in terms of how you cover the games. But generally speaking, we're located in Bangor, so Bangor, Brewer, Hamden, Old Town, Orono, Bapst, Herman, those are, and then what I call you work yourself out geographically from those areas.
So as far as the radio side, what does a typical day look like for you, Monday through Friday, and how do you guys prepare each day for your show?
Yeah, well, I get in about 4:15-ish in the morning every day. The first half hour or so is actually devoted to the digital side. And I'm posting stories from the night before. The Patriots just played overnight. It's part of what I do to post web stories that day. So before I actually do much preparation for the show, although by doing the digital side, I'm putting information into my head that I want for the show itself. And then we go on with our show at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then we finish up at 8 o'clock in the morning with the live show. Throughout the day, we're taping interviews, we're going out on location to do interviews or feature stories, and maybe that night we'll have a play-by-play game, or maybe that afternoon we'll have a play-by-play game. So it's kind of all over the map. Some days you get to go home at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That's good too.
Yeah, time to take a nap when you get those days. So how do you determine what topics are the most important to discuss on the show? Obviously, there's some that may happen overnight, breaking news. So how do you determine, regionally what's important for your show?
Well, a couple of things. You want to do local first, and I kind of consider the Boston sports, the regional sports, as local as well, giving local people a chance to talk about those regional teams. People want to talk about Tom Brady and what he did last night, or the Red Sox and Big Papi and that sort of thing. So we do a lot of that. Most of the national stuff, it doesn't make a lot of sense for us to do it, because in this day and age, you've got that off your phone, off your computer, off the various satellite and cable channels. So we always want to try to be local first.
So occasionally you guys host different events through 92.9 The Ticket, including a hot stove night here that is at the Gracie Theater. So you've had Boston, sports heroes like Johnny Damon and David Ross. So how do you go about preparing for an event like that? And what is it like for you to sit up there with those athletes, knowing that they've played on championship teams?
Well, to be fair, we have at our company a live events manager, and she does a great job with most of it. I help out wherever I need to in the coordination part, and then as we get closer to the event, I really help out more with how we're going to do the show, the lighting, the audio, pre-production, what the stage is going to look like, asking questions like you had to prepare here for today. So there's just a lot of that stuff. But I have to say, that's a real labor of love. To bring up some of these Red Sox guys. We brought up Danny Amendola this summer from the Patriots. And everything was great. Everything went off smoothly. It was a great thing. What people may not realize is he got here about 5 minutes before he was supposed to go live. And that leads to some anxious moments from time to time, but you roll with the punches and all of that. So, but it's a great thing to do just when you're maybe a little tired of play-by-play, just when you're a little tired of talking for 2 hours about whatever the topic is. Along comes a live event, and it's a completely different thing to do. It's not really radio or TV, it's a live event, and it makes it fun.
So we talked about basketball season coming up. So do you have a favorite sport that you like to cover? Is there one that you can't wait for each year that comes around?
I know you're going to like this because I think it's baseball.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah.
You too?
Yeah, I like baseball. Baseball's one of my favorites, yeah.
I just think that I grew up on baseball. I know it the best. And so I like to think I can feel that the best. But I love basketball too. I like football. I like them all, but I would rank maybe baseball followed closely by basketball.
Yeah, obviously with the tournament coming up too, that's definitely a busy time for you guys, I'm sure.
Yeah, about 55 games. In about a 17-day period, about 55 games we broadcast. And
that's all like play-by-play, color?
Yeah.
So is it interchangeable for you guys? You guys have different guys on the radio doing?
Yeah, we'd like to have 4 to 5 different guys, because now in the state of Maine you broadcast games from Bangor, Portland, and Augusta. So you need crews at 3 different places. So, but it's fun. There's nothing better than high school basketball tournament week.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all the time we have for this episode of The Locker Room. We'd like to thank Dale Duff for coming on the show today. You can follow The Locker Room on Twitter at lockerroom_.tv. If you'd like to watch this episode or any previous episode again, you can go to our NESCom journalism channel on YouTube. For everyone working hard behind the scenes, I'm Alyssa Thurlow, and have a great rest of your day.